Hello and welcome dear friends at Lit ECT YouTube channel, the one-stop destination for preparation of NTA NET English and other related exams. Dear friends, we are discussing some most important MCQs for the coming exam. In this practice set, we generally tackle some advanced level questions, generally those are which are based on previously asked questions, and in our today's session we are going to handle some questions based on Indian writing in English, and in this first part we will deal with the earliest phase of English writing in English. So we will start. Our first question is, most of the Bengali plays by Tagore were translated in English by himself. Which among these is an exception? Our options are Chitra, second is Red Oleanders, third one is The Post Office, and the last one is Sannyasi. These all are very popular plays by Rabindra Nath Tagore. He mostly translated his own works from Bengali to English. The one play which is not translated by him is The Post Office. Dear friends, this particular play was translated by Shri Devabrat Mukherjee and not by Rabindranath Tagore. Our next question is, who is the writer of poems To My Native Land and Song of the Hindustani Minstrel? Some of the earliest examples of Indian writing in English. So the write poetry by Indians in English, it started even before the first mutiny. Was it Kashi Prasad Ghosh, Michael Madhusudan Dutt, Henry Derozio, or Shashi Chandra Dutt? All these belong to the region of Bengal. Some of them were Western educated, and some of them, because of their particular family connections, they started writing in English. These particular poems, To My Native Land, Song of the Hindustani Minstrel, they are penned by Henry Derozio, who was in complete awe of English language, so much so that he basically converted to Christianity. Kashi Prasad Ghosh, he wrote The Shire or Minstrel back in 1830, and Michael Madhusudan Dutt, a very important name, and his most popular poem being The Captive Lady, published in 1849. Who is the author of The Golden Breath, Studies in Five Poets of the New India, one of the earliest books of literary criticism on Indo-Anglian poetry. So options are K.R.S. Iyengar, Mulk Raj Anand, Latika Basu, and Shashi Chandra Dutt. All these writers, they have contributed to the criticism of Indian writing in English. K.R.S. Iyengar is generally considered to be the fountainhead of all discussions about Indians writing in English. But this particular book was written by Mulk Raj Anand, in which he discussed 5 contemporary Indian poets writing in English. Latika Basu, she was a great scholar too, and Indian writers of English verse. It was published in 1933. Hailed as the first original significant publication of Indian English literature. The essay, A Defense of Hindu Theism, is penned by Raja Ram Mohan Rai, Kaveli Venkata Boraiya, Bhau Daji, or Dada Bhai Naroji. Out of these 4, they all were either political or socially motivated writers, and they all contributed something to the journals, or we can say the non-fiction tradition of Indian writing in English. This particular essay is written by Raja Ram Mohan Rai. Kaveli Venkata Boraiya, he published accounts of the Jain, which is considered to be the first published composition, while this essay published in 1817 is first original publication of Indian English literature. Who is the poet of the sonnet BAUGMAREE, famous for the vivid description of a garden? Now, Sarojini Naidu, Toru Dutt, Sri Aurobindo, and Rabindra Nath Tagore, all these 4 are basically known for their love of nature and its beautiful evocative description in their poetry. But this particular poem, BAUGMAREE, is written by Toru Dutt. Yes, dear friends, she wrote about her ancestral home and the garden associated with this in this particular poem. Which of the following Tagore's play is a tribute to Gandhi's campaign of non-violence through the character of the singer says Dhananjay Bairagi? Now, there was a time when there were, we can say, difference of opinion between Gandhi and Tagore related to their ideology. But later, Tagore was quite influenced by Gandhi's this non-violent philosophy, and he wrote a play. So, is it Sacrifice, Chandalika, Muktadhara, or Sannyasi? Dear friend, it is the play Muktadhara in which he presents the character of singer says Dhananjay Bairagi, who we can say is a manifestation of Gandhian philosophy. Our next question, dear friend, is which early Indian poem in English features the story of Nalini, a widow from an upper caste Bengali Hindu family, and her love for a Muslim robber? So you can understand an audacious attempt at that time writing about interreligious love story. Is it The Captive Lady, The Harp of India, The Shire, or The Fakir of Jangira? Dear friend, it is none other than The Fakir of Jangira, a very popular poem by Henry Derozio in which he wrote this story. Which among these is not a work by Toru Dutt? Toru Dutt is considered to be the exotic, we can say, flowering, a born writer, but who lived for a very short span of life. Is it The Diary of Mademoiselle d'Avers, Bianca or the Young Spanish Maiden, The Dutt Family Album, and A Sheaf Gleaned in French Fields? Dear friend, out of these four, it is the Dutt Family Album which is not written by him. Bianca is her unfinished novel published after her death. The Diary is her earliest attempt at novel writing. A Sheaf Gleaned in French Field is the collection of poems she wrote while she was in France. The Dutt Family Album is also connected to Toru Dutt. In fact, it has contribution from whole family: Govind Chandra, father of Toru Dutt, Har Chandra, Girish Chandra, three brothers, and their cousin Omesh Chandra, whose poems were published in Primavera, a collection of poems that also included poems by poets of Rhymer Club, Stephen Phillips, Lawrence Binyon, and Arthur Cripps. So options are Aurobindo Ghosh, Behramji, Mirwanji Malabari, Ramesh Chandra Dutt, and Manmohan Ghosh. Aurobindo Ghosh and Manmohan Ghosh, they are brothers, Manmohan being the elder one. We are quite familiar, we know the name of Sri Aurobindo because of his greatness as a yogi and also his epic Savitri. But this particular poet who contributed to this collection is Primavera. At the same time, let me tell you something about Behramji Mehravanji Malabari. He wrote the Indian Muse in English Ga, published in 1876. And Ramesh Chandra Dutt, he translated some Bengali and Indian ancient folk tales into lays of ancient India. Who wrote the introduction to Gitanjali, the first English translations of Tagore's Bengali poems published by the Indian Society of London? Is it Ezra Pound, W.B. Yeats, William Rothenstein, or Edmund Gosse? Dear friends, all of these were greatly influenced by Tagore's poetry, and William Rothenstein is one of his close friends, a painter who introduced Tagore to the Western intellectual world. Ezra Pound introduced Tagore's poetry in America, and it was W.B. Yeats who wrote this particular translation, this particular introduction to the English translation of Gitanjali. Which among these is true regarding Savitri by Sri Aurobindo? Its subtitle is A Legend and a Symbol. In the final version, there are 12 books. The poem opens on the crucial day, the day when Satyavan died or must die. The entire poem is written in blank verse without enjambment. Dear friends, all are true. Yes, its subtitle is Legend and a Symbol. And one important thing, though it is written in blank verse, it is not a Miltonic blank verse with sense running over to the next line. Each line is complete in itself. Which of the following poetic collection by Tagore has the chief motive of childhood? Tagore published many collections of poetry. The Gardener, The Crescent Moon, Fruit Gathering, these are his early, while A Flight of Swan is one of his later collections of poetry. Out of these, it is The Crescent Moon in which poems are written from the point of view of a child and also childhood in general. Our next question is, identify the poem that is not penned by Sarojini Naidu, the Nightingale of India. Is it a Rajput love song, The Child, a Persian love song, or Coromandel Fishers? All these are very popular Indian English poems, but one among these is not written by Sarojini Naidu. It is The Child, which is written by Rabindra Nath Tagore. In fact, it is the single poem which Tagore directly wrote in English, and it is not translated by him from Bengali. Rest of three poems are written by Sarojini Naidu. Our next question is, who founded Amrit Bazar Patrika, the oldest Indian-owned English daily in 1868? Bankim Chandra Chatterjee, Ramesh Chandra Dutt, Harish Chandra Mukherjee, or Motilal Ghosh. Once again, four people belonging to the Bengal region. They all contributed to an extent to the development of Indian journals and publication house. It was Motilal Ghosh who basically founded and edited in the beginning Amrit Bazar Patrika. Our next question, dear friend, is, which play by Tagore is set in an imaginary town, Yakshapuri, and features Nandini, who symbolizes the spirit of humanity? The Post Office, The King of the Dark Chamber, Red Oleanders, and Chitra. Chitra, dear friends, is based on an episode from Mahabharata, the story of Arjun and Chitrangada. Post Office is story of a young boy Amal on his deathbed. The King of the Dark Chamber is once again a story of greed, and Red Oleanders deal with the theme of sin and death, and it is this play which is in which there is town named Yakshapuri. So our next question is, in which magazine Bankim Chandra's only novel in English, RAJMOHAN'S Wife, was serialized? The Indian Field, Hindu Patriot, Amrit Bazar Patrika, the Calcutta Literary Gazette. All once again the four magazines which belong to the eastern part of India. RAJMOHAN'S Wife was first serialized in the Indian Field. Our next question, dear friend, is, which of the following facts about Tagore's novel The Home and the World is not true? It is set during the height of Swadeshi movement. The story is narrated by not one or two but three characters. Nikhil suffers critical injuries at the end of the novel, and Nikhil is the protagonist. He is an idealist man, and Bimla, Nikhil's wife, leaves home with Sandeep, who basically poses himself as a Swadeshi person, but he is actually a swindler, and she escapes with him. Yes, there is a time in the novel when it seems that Bimla will leave with Sandeep, but this doesn't happen. So yes, Bimla stays with her husband Nikhil. So this particular statement is not correct. Our next question is, who is the author of the famous essay Nationalism in India, which makes a distinction between society and nation? Surendranath Banerjee, Bankim Chandra Chatterjee, Sri Aurobindo, or Rabindra Nath Tagore? Dear friends, it is none other than Rabindra Nath Tagore who defined his broad concept of nationalism and nation in this particular essay. So the correct answer is Rabindra Nath Tagore, who is the author of story collections like Love and Life Behind the Parda and Sun Babies. These are considered to be the first significant Indian short story collection. Shashi Chandra Dutt, T. Ramakrishna Pillai, Suniti Devi, or Cornelia Sorabji. Cornelia Sorabji is a Parsi lady from Bombay. She is also the first women advocate at Bombay High Court. And yes, the answer is also Cornelia Sorabji, who wrote these very significant story collections. If we talk about Shashi Chandra Dutt, his Bengaliana, a dish of rice and curry and other indigestible ingredients, is also a collection of funny English stories. Toru Dutt's famous poem Buttu is based on this famous mythological character. Toru has written many poems inspired from Indian mythology like Sita, Lakshman and other. So this poem Buttu is Eklavya from Mahabharat, Ahilya from Ramayana, Bhishma from Mahabharat or Love Kush from Ramayana. Dear friends, the correct answer for this particular is Eklavya's story from Mahabharata. Buttu is based on this particular mythological character. Our next question is, which of the following papers was not edited and published in English by Sri Aurobindo? The Karma Yogi, Dharma, Arya or Bande Matram? Arya is one of his most important journal, and actually in this particular paper he presented his philosophy, his mysticism. Karma Yogi is his first attempt at publishing paper. The correct answer is Dharma. This particular journal was not in English. Rest of these three by Sri Aurobindo are in English. Which of the following professionals are held responsible by Gandhi in Hind Swaraj for impoverishing India? So Gandhiji basically criticized these two particular professions: lawyers, doctors, merchants or civil servants. So correct answer is lawyers and doctors. He criticizes them for their corrupt practices in the book Hind Swaraj. Okay, dear friends, with this we come to the end of this advanced level quiz on English writing in India or Indian English writing, whatever, or Anglo-Indian writing. These are, most of the questions are pre-independent, almost all questions are from pre-independence era, and we can say the beginning. Very soon we will come with the next quiz, which will about the next phase of Indian writing in English. Keep supporting, keep watching. Thank you, dear friends.